Shalom. First and foremost, giving all praise, glory, and honor be to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rekahakwadash. Double honors to the beloved apostles and elders of Great Millstone, better known as GMS Ruel. Peace and salutations unto the hopeful elect, the tabernacle of David, beginning with the 144,000 and the rest of the men, women, and children out of the 12 tribes whom Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai will ultimately have mercy upon in these last days. I'm your brother Matazabath, residing from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Melbourne, Australia. And I want to say Shabbat Shalom. It's just hit the evening here in Melbourne, Australia, Thursday night. And this is going to be a part two going into the Most High spare not the angels. All right. So basically, I just wanted to quickly do a follow-up lesson because there was a particular part going into the breakdown here in 2 Peter 2 and 4 that I didn't quite cover thoroughly. And I just wanted to come back and give a little bit more edification on the matter. And that matter is dealing with who were the angels. Now, I mentioned previously in part one that these angels, they pretty much represents us, the Israelites. But when you go deeper into it, when we speak about the elect, which includes the 144,000, all right, and the rest of the men, women, and children, basically it goes really into the men of the Lord, all right, which starts with your leaders, be that of the prophets, all right, the priest, the kings, all right, and judges, okay. Now, why do I say this? Well, in part one, okay, we went to the book of Second Esdras, all right, in chapter 1, and I'm gonna start at verse we'll start here, verse 38. It says, and now, brother, behold what glory, and see the people that come from the east, unto whom I will give for leaders. Okay. Now, the key words, all right, in this chapter, particularly here in verse 39 and verse 40, is the word leaders, and then you have the word angel. Okay, because as we went into part one, okay, you had we were known as angels, and these leaders here, be that of the prophets, okay, they were known as angels of the Lord, because remember in part one we also broke down the fact that when you go into the word angel, it simply means a messenger. Now, point that I wanted to point out here in part two is when we deal with angels, okay, and let's go back into that word in the Greek. Okay, real quick.
Strong's G32, angelos. Angelos.
Now, it says a messenger, especially an angel in the Strong's definition I'm reading. By implication, a pastor, angel, messenger, right? Now, we also link this, and also in part one, when you go to Jude 1, and remember we talked about the angel's first estate, which it goes into that word aparche or arche, Salakia, not aparche, but arche, all right, which means beginning, origin, okay? And also number two, it says the person or thing that commences, the first person or thing in a series, the leader, all right? And so what you have to understand, these angels, all right, these leaders, be that of the prophets, as I mentioned, all right, the priests, the kings, all right, and also the judges, they were in a rule, a magistracy, all right, of order. Okay, they had a beginning. Now, Yahweh Shai said, when you get John, the 15th chapter, all right, dealing with the elect, in verse 27, it says, and ye also shall bear witness, because ye have been with me from the beginning. Now, remember in part one, we spoke about prophets that have been in thy name. All right, let's get Ecclesiasticus chapter 36 and verse 15. It says, give testimony unto those that thou hast possessed from the beginning. So these prophets, okay, they were there in the beginning, okay? The leaders, the judges, they were with Yahweh Shai, and we're going to show you that here in part 2. All right, because again, I didn't bring this out in part 1, so I just wanted to come back and give a little bit more edification on the subject. Okay, so remember that give testimony unto those that thou hast possessed from the beginning. And we read here in John 15:27, where Yahweh Shai said, and ye also shall bear witness, because ye have been with me from the beginning. Okay, there's a precept that say, I stir up your minds. All right, you knew this, right? Let's get so to go further into this, what was at the beginning? Let's go to Genesis 1:1. It says, in the beginning, the Most High created the heaven and the earth. Now, really, the way that this is supposed to be read is, in the beginning, the powers or the judges or the angels created the heaven and the earth. Why is that? Because when you go into the word God, as we all should know by now, okay, you have the Hebrew word Alahayim. Okay, if you understand the Lashawan Quadash, all right, Alahayim. All right. Now, when you look in the outline of biblical usage, it's plural for what? Rulers, judges, okay, divine ones, angels, gods. Now, we mentioned back in part 1 that David said what? When you go to Psalms 82:6, I have said ye are gods, and all of you are the children of the Most High, but ye shall die like men and fall like one of the princes. So that the angels in this, in retrospect, dealing with Jude 1:6 and 2 Peter 2:4, again, is speaking about the men of the Lord. All right, the elect. Okay, these were the ones that were here in the beginning, along with Yahweh Shai and the angels. Okay, because before we became a family here on the planet Earth through Adam, all right, when you follow the righteous seed line, we were a family in the heavens first. That's why the scriptures tells us when we go to the New Testament in Ephesians 1:4, I'll highlight it real quick. It says, according as he hath chosen us in him before the foundation of the world, that we should be holy and without blame before him in love. So the elect, they were chosen because they're also called the first fruits. Now, when you deal with the first fruits, let's get Revelation, the 4th chapter. Okay. Actually, you know what? Revelation chapter 14 and verse 4. That's the one I want. And I'm going to start at the top, verse 1. The point is at verse 4. It says, and I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on a Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his father's name written in their foreheads. And I heard a voice from heaven, as the voice of many waters, and as the voice of a great thunder. And I heard the voice of harpers harping with their harps, and they sung, as it were, a new song before the throne, and before the 4 beasts and the elders. And no man could learn that song but the 144,000 which were redeemed from the earth. And here's the point. These are they which were not defiled with women. That means other philosophies. For they are virgins. To be a virgin means spiritually that you have not tainted yourself by worshiping other philosophies, deities, and other gods. You have not gone off a whoring, as the scriptures calls it. It says, these are they, the elect, 144,000, that is, which follow the Lamb, Yahweh Shai, whithersoever he goeth. All right. It says, these were redeemed from among men, being the first fruits unto the power and to the Lamb, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Now, when you go into this word first fruits, all right, which is important. Okay, first fruits. You have the Greek word here.
Strong's G 536. Aparche. Aparche.
All right. It says to offer firstlings or first fruits, to take away the first fruits of the productions of the earth, which was offered to power, the first portion of the dough from which sacred loaves were to be prepared, hence term used of persons consecrated to the Most High for all time. Person superior in excellence to others of the same class. You see, that's why they're known as the first fruits. You see, and you have to understand that there was another, right? When you go into the etymology,
Strong's G 756. Archamai. Archamai.
it says in the outline of biblical usage to be the first to do anything, to begin, right? Because the elect, we were, when I say we, I pray that we that hopeful number, all right? Because we don't know who the elect is here, okay? That's why the scripture says make your calling in an election sure. All right. So if you've been called in this ministry and you understand the truth, all right, hearing it from the apostles on down, all right. And if Yahweh Bashim Yahushai has opened up your understanding to these scriptures, all right, continue to be steadfast and hold on to faith, hold on to hope, all right, because you very well could be one of the elect. But it says here to be chief, leader, ruler. Remember we read in Sirach, okay, or not Sirach, but Salakia, 2nd Esdras 1 and 38. All right, these are they who I give for leaders, okay? To begin, to make a beginning. Strong's definition says through the implication of precedence to commence in order of time, rehearse from the beginning. So the elect, the 144,000, they were there in the beginning, okay, with the Alahayim, Yahweh Shai. They helped Yahweh Shah to create everything else. That's why he said, let me get that there. Let me see. Let me see if I can get this real quick. 2 Peter 3:1, this second epistle, beloved, I now write unto you in both which I stir up your pure minds by way of remembrance. Okay, he's calling out. All right. So we're being the elect is being stirred up. That's why Yahweh Shai said when we go back to John once more, all right, John 15:27, and ye shall bear witness because ye have been with me from the beginning. This should be another precept. You see here. Is that what I want? Not okay. Let me type in first fruits again because there's another one. Right. Here we go. Let me get this here. 1 Corinthians 15:20. But now is Hamashiach risen from the dead and become the first fruits of them that slept. All right. And verse 23 in the same chapter. But every man in his own order. Okay. Remember, it talked about an order of time, a beginning. Okay. A magistrate. Okay. That order, that ranking file structure, that's coming back here on the planet Earth, starting with the 144,000. Well, Salakia, pardon me, starting with Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. All right. Then you have King David. Then you have the 12 apostles. And then you have the 144,000. All right. It says, Hamashiach, the first fruits. Afterward, they that are Hamashiachs at his coming. Okay. James 1:18, it says, of his own will begot he us with the word of truth, that we should be a kind of first fruits of his creatures. So we're coming back. Okay. We're coming back to our original order that we once shared with Yahweh Shai in the heavens. All right. Let's see here. Right. Romans 8:23. Let's go into that. Romans 8:23. This is another good one. I'll start at verse 22. It says, for we know that the whole creation groaneth and travaileth in pain together until now. And not only they, but ourselves also, which have the first fruits of the Spirit, even we ourselves groan within ourselves, waiting for the adoption, to which the redemption of our body, right? Because we are waiting to get back to our first estate, which when you go back to Jude 1:6, and the angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, to leave their, once again, as I mentioned in part 1, to leave our own habitation, meaning we left under the grace. We left having that connection with Yahweh. Okay. We were disobedient. We were cut off by sinning. Okay. So as a result, we were put into everlasting chains under darkness. We became mortal from immortal. Remember, man was created to be immortal. Okay. But we've left that habitation. Okay. We left our rock, our strength. So that first estate, again, goes back to the beginning. Okay. The a series, person or thing in a series, a leader, first place, principality. These are the first fruits. Okay. When you go to the Strong's definition, again, it says a commencement or concretely chief and various applications of order, time, place, or rank. The 144,000. Okay. Which consists of the prophets. Okay. The leaders, the judges. It says beginning, corner, at the first estate, magistrate, power, principality. Remember, the Lord said in Isaiah, let's get that, Isaiah 1:26. He says, and I will restore thy judges as at the first, and thy counselors as at the beginning. Afterward, thou shalt be called the city of righteousness, the faithful city. So let's pull out some of these words. All right. When you get the word judges, shapat, okay, which says to judge, govern, vindicate, okay, punish, to act as a lawgiver or judge or governor, to rule, govern, judge, which we're going to do that in the kingdom. Okay. We're going to rule over the other nations under Yahweh Shai. Okay. It's not that hard to put together. This is pretty self-explanatory. All right. So let's go from that. It says as at the first. Okay. Let's get this here.
Strong's H 7223. Rishon. Rishon.
Outline biblical usage says first, primary, former of time, ancestors. Okay. The former things. Okay. Does not the scripture says seek ye the old paths, man. Okay. It says foremost of location, first in time. You see? We were there from the beginning, the origin. This is our story. This is our history. Okay. It says first, chief in degree, right? Strong's definition says first in place, time or rank, ancestor, that word before time, beginning. Okay. Eldest, first, forefather, most, former thing, of old time past. So the elect, again, okay, they were there in the beginning. That's why you when you hear elders like Elder Yashawama from GMS Dallas, he always goes into this. We were a family in the beginning in the heavens before we came down on earth. So we are those angels in fleshly bodies, if that makes sense. Okay. Let's pick out some more. You have counselors. All right.
Strong's H 3289. Ya'atz. Ya'atz.
It says to advise, consult, give counsel. All right. Which is what, our judges, those in the chief seats, the priests and stuff, they've done. All right. Then you have as at the beginning. All right.
Strong's H 8462. Techillah. Techillah.
All right. It says beginning first, the first time, from the beginning, in the beginning, with prep. Strong's definition says a commencement, relatively original, adverbally, beginning, first time. All right. And that's primarily what it means. All right. So that's what, the Lord is going to do. He's going to restore thy judges. Okay. Remember, we read in Genesis 1:1. Okay. In the beginning, the Elohim created the heavens and the earth. Elohim is plural for gods, judges, rulers, angels. We were there in the beginning. Okay. The elect. Okay. Abaratazah will be a part of that number. All right. So when you go back and you deal with 2 Peter 2:4, if the Most High spared not the angels that sinned. All right. And now you understand the story because it started with Adam. Okay. Adam was the son of God. It was Yahweh Shai. Okay. And what did he do? being Lord of all creatures. He went off. Okay, so through him, death entered into the world. We were put under chains of darkness, which is these bodies. That's why we're suffering in the flesh today. Okay, as it tells us in Romans, the 8th chapter, the creatures, let's get that real quick. I don't want to butcher it. Romans 8 and 20. Okay, very important. It says, for the creature was made subject to vanity. So the Lord, this was the story. This is what we had to go through. This is the Lord's doing. Not willingly, as we always say. Adam didn't willfully sin, but by reason of him who have subjected the same in hope. It says, because the creature itself also shall be delivered from the bondage of corruption. What is the bondage of corruption? Once again, these bodies. Read 1 Corinthians, the 15th chapter. Paul beautifully breaks it down. Okay. Before we can enter into the kingdom, we must inherit incorruption, and we must put off the corruption, which are these bodies. That's why we have to be changed within the twinkling of an eye. So let me read it again. Romans 8 and 21, because the creature itself also shall be delivered from the bondage of corruption into the glorious liberty of the children of power. That glory is going to be on us. That's why the scripture says in the Apocrypha, when you go to it, all right, Wisdom of Solomon 3. Let me see here if I can remember. Let me see. Glory. What am I thinking of? Is it Wisdom of Solomon 4? Or is it 5? Let's see. Let me see. I think I'm thinking of 3. Because part of that glory, all right, Wisdom of Solomon 3 and 7. Yeah. And in the time of their visitation, this is speaking about the elect, the righteous souls, they shall shine and run to and fro like sparks among the stubble. Okay. That's what the scriptures is going into. That's part of that glory, man. Okay. You're going to be extraterrestrial here on the planet Earth with spiritual powers. Right. Another one is what? 1 John 3 and 2. Beloved, now are we the sons of power, and it doth not yet appear what we shall be, but we know that when he shall appear, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. Remember, Isaiah 47 said he will not meet thee as a man. He's coming in his full angelic force. So how much more his elect when they are beamed up and changed within the twinkling of an eye? All right. So to end it off, 2 Peter 2 and 4, okay, that's who the angels are that is talking about that sin. All right. That's why the Lord is only dealing with the elect. All right. He's calling them back as his first fruits. OK, those who were there in the beginning with his son, Yahweh Shai. OK, so I kind of just wanted to tap into that to give a little bit more edification on that. And Lord's will, you got some edification and you were exhorted at the same time. So I want to end it there by saying Shabbat Shalom, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakah HaKodash. Double honors once again to the beloved apostles and elders of Great Millstone, better known as GMS, who rule well. Peace and salutations unto the hopeful elect. The tabernacle of David is on to the next. Shalom.